On this edition of Time About the Movies, Fear Him If You Dare, but Puss in Boots is coming out of the Shrek universe and starring in his own spin-off movie, simply known as, well, Puss in Boots. We also have Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried starring in the sci-fi thriller In Time. Johnny Depp returns as Hunter S. Thompson, sort of. We'll delve into that with the Rum Diary. And Roland Emmerich steps away from the blockbusters once again, hoping to recapture some magic that he had with The Patriot with Anonymous. Does he succeed? Once again, we'll take a look as we go along here. It's October 28th, 2011. Let's wrap October up and head into the holiday season. This is Time About the Movies.
That's not what your mama said. Oh.
Yeah, the thing that they sold that market, the entire marketing on, the ooh. Every time I see that, I just kind of like, shut up. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the four films that came out on October 28th, 2011, with the first one being Puss in Boots, which was actually kind of a big deal that this was opening before Halloween, because usually when you open a movie like this before Halloween for kids, it does not usually do very well. That's why Disney, when they released Brother Bear in 2003, waited until Saturday, November the 1st to release that movie instead of opening it on Halloween, because they knew all the kids were going to be out trick-or-treating. Which I guess in this credit, they waited, they did it the week before, so hey, they can get the money out now, and then when Halloween Monday comes around, hey, there's a reason why we can explain why the movie didn't do so well on that Monday. But the film did very well, and of course it led to a really good, far superior sequel that came out 11 years later, which we won't get to it on this show in particular, but I've talked about it before on this channel, so if you want to hear my thoughts on The Last Wish, hit the link in the corner up there, or read or the description down below. But anyway, let's go back to the original Puss in Boots, a spin-off, like I said, a prequel of the Shrek series, and it follows the character Puss in Boots on his adventures before his first appearance in Shrek 2. Accompanied by his sidekicks Humpty Dumpty, voiced by Zach Galifianakis, and Kitty Softpaws, voiced by Salma Hayek. Puss is pitted against Jack and Jill, played by Billy Bob Thornton and Amy Sedaris, two murderous outlaws who discover an ancient power which threatens the world. And here's the thing about this movie. I liked it, but I kind of felt a little underwhelmed about it. When I saw it the first time, I really came out of it kind of feeling like, I thought this was good and all, but I feel like this could have been so much more than it actually was. I mean, Antonio Banderas, Antonio Brown, good lord. Sorry, Steeler fan here. Antonio Banderas, there we go. Antonio Banderas, I think, once again, really is the best at Puss in Boots in this. He does carry the load of the film, and I'll give the film credit for doing a good job of not bringing up the fact that this takes place within the Shrek universe. Like, you could honestly say that this is a story that could have taken place anywhere else, and you would have never mentioned Far, Far Away or any of the characters from Shrek overall. They did a good job of making it work on its own. You would swear that this was just its own movie and not based on a character from the Shrek films, which is funny because the far superior sequel bookends it where they're going to end up meeting with the characters from Shrek at the end of that film, one would think. But the characters overall are really good. I like the chemistry that Puss has with Kitty Softpaws, and I think Salma Hayek and Antonio Banderas, they've worked with each other as couples before in Desperado and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and that's worked so well for them. And, the comedy here overall is pretty good. I thought the first hour alone was really solid. Where the problems come into play here is with the story and the way the film kind of moves forward. You kind of know who will be the double-crosser in the movie, and they reveal who it is right away, and it gets really lazy when they reveal who's behind it all. It's just kind of like, yeah, we've seen it before in Rango and in Toy Story 3 and 1,000,000,006 other animated movies, but at least in this movie, in those movies, it's done fairly cleverly. Here, you just kind of throw it out there that one of the main characters is a double-crosser, and if you watch right from the get-go, you can honestly tell, okay, this guy's going to screw over Puss in Boots and everybody else, but it really felt like everything was moving way too fast, and the ending really felt short-handed and really reminded me way too much of kind of how Thor ended its final climax. The movie, the pacing, shockingly does not work well in this film at all. Which is funny because, like I said, I don't hate the movie. In fact, I do like a lot of this movie. As I said, the characters are very likable. The comedy is really good. It did a good job of being a self-contained movie without making references to the franchise that it's based off of. The big problem with me is that the story is too predictable, the twists and turns are predictable, the pacing's way too fast. Good movie, not a great film overall. Just there's been so many other better animated films that came out this year, so take that for what you will. With that said, let us move on to our next movie, and that is, and again, I just forgot it as I was thinking about it, In Time, and there's probably a reason why I forgot about it, as you'll see coming up after this.
In Time, October 28th.
Well, let me take a look here. Justin Timberlake would have been in his 30s, and Amanda Seyfried would have been 26 when this movie came out. So yeah, if life ends at 25, their lives are basically done with. But cool premise. A good director, Andrew Niccol, who also did Gattaca, and he also wrote The Truman Show. But you know how it is with these sci-fi movies. In fact, this movie in particular, I think, was the one that made me realize a new sci-fi film that maybe is trying to start a franchise probably isn't going to end up doing all that well, because good lord, this was a major, major disappointment. So in the not-too-distant future, the aging gene has been switched off. To avoid overpopulation, time has become the currency and the way people pay for luxuries and necessities. The rich can live forever while the rest try to negotiate for their immortality. A poor young man played by Justin Timberlake who comes into a fortunate time, though too late to help his mother from dying. His mother's played by Olivia Wilde. He ends up on the run from a corrupt police force known as the Timekeepers. And again, this is one of those movies where the idea is so much better than the actual movie itself. The plot is really cool, a really fun idea. A world where time is the currency. That's a great plot. You got a great cast. Justin Timberlake, Amanda Seyfried, Cillian Murphy, Johnny Galecki, Olivia Wilde, Alex Pettyfer. And you got Andrew Niccol. Like I said, he's the one who made probably one of Nicolas Cage's best movies of the last decade in Lord of War. There's no way this could be bad until you realize that you have to see the movie. Just like kind of like how Chris Berman used to say on ESPN's NFL Primetime all the time. That's why they play the game. So use that analogy for the movie in general, because yeah, this is pretty bad. Well, let's start off with the story. The story is all over the place. The plot is really good, but the play out of the story is too all over the place. And there are lots of parts of this movie where the film is poorly written. I mean, the biggest problem with the story is that they never explain how time became the currency. Like, if you're gonna say something is something, explain to us why that is. Like, give us a reason and how time became the currency around here. Don't just be like, oh, this is how the world works, and we're not going to tell you how it is. Just like, no, give us a damn explanation for this. Like, I would have loved to see that. I think it was written to the point where you would believe it if it would have helped to save the film, but it feels way too much like the way better Limitless that came out earlier in the year. The tonal shifts are all over the place in this movie. This is trying to be like the Equilibrium or the Adjustment Bureau, but it feels way too much like a rip-off of those movies. It should be trying to do its own thing instead of ripping off all these other sci-fi movies. And even the way that it ended, it just felt like, that's it? That's all you're going to give us? I mean, with something as good of a plot like this, you would think there would be more than enough effort being put in there to give you, the audience, a legitimately good movie, but it's just not there in this film. Now, to its credit, the cast is doing the best job they could do here. I mean, Justin Timberlake is proving that he can be a good actor. We've seen it in The Social Network. We've seen it in Bad Teacher. We've even seen it in stuff like Friends with Benefits. Even as Boo Boo and Yogi Bear. I mean, this was supposed to be his moment to shine as a leading actor, and it just wasn't there. And I think he has the potential to be a really good actor. I mean, we've seen it in other movies, but here, not so much. I mean, he is carrying it as much as he can, but, I mean, he deserved a lot better than this. In fact, everybody in here deserves a lot better than this. Excuse me, I'm so disappointed. I'm burping about it, but with all that said, this is not a very good movie. This is a really, really bad film. A great plot, a great cast, a great director, all flat in this. The story and tone is all over the place. The ending is a disappointment. The action sequences are poorly done. They're trying to copy way too many other sci-fi movies. Like, there's nothing clever here whatsoever. It's just retreads from other movies, and I'm sorry, you can't do that with a movie like this. You need to be smarter than what this movie is trying to offer you, and it just doesn't work. It just does not work at all, and it was a major, major disappointment when I saw it, so. Speaking of major disappointments, this next one can also be considered kind of a major disappointment. Johnny Depp starring in The Rum Diary.
The Rum Diary, rated R, October 28th.
Yeah, needless to say, this ain't no Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. You have Johnny Depp starring as a hard-drinking journalist who takes a job at a besieged newspaper in San Juan, Puerto Rico. His volatile editor assigns him to tourist places and horoscopes, but promises more. Paul roams with Sala, an aging and equally alcoholic reporter in a rundown flat. Sanderson, a wealthy entrepreneur, hires Paul to flack for a group of investors who plan to buy an island near the capital and build a resort. Sanderson's girlfriend, the beguiling Chanel, played by, I had her name for a second, Amber Heard, bats her eyes at Paul. His loyalties face challenges when he and Sala get in trouble with locals, and when a carnival dance enrages Sanderson, and when the paper hits the skids, is the solution always alcohol? I think the better question is why isn't this anywhere near as good as it should be? I mean, you got Johnny Depp returning into a role of Hunter S. Thompson territory that he did so well with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and really, when you watch the movie for the first time, you can see the problems right from the get-go from its director, Bruce Robinson, who hasn't made a movie in 20 years. Like, the last thing this guy directed was Jennifer 8, and that was not a good movie. And before that, he did How to Get Ahead in Advertising. So why would you come out of retirement nearly 20 years later, or not even retirement, coming out in hiding 20 years later to do this? Like, I think in the hands of a better director and a better writer, because he wrote this as well, there could have been a so much better movie here, but here, it's just a major disappointment. Nobody's really given it their all here. Johnny Depp is trying way too hard in this. Amber Heard, yeah, she's good to look at in here, but you can see where the trouble began with their relationship. Aaron Eckhart, Richard Jenkins, Giovanni Ribisi, all good actors, but again, kind of like Within Time. Great actors, but they are in desperate need of a much better script and a much better movie. And this just really is not bad, unfortunately, so if you want my advice, just stick with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and be done with it. It's definitely the much better movie than whatever the hell this film was supposed to be. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at our last movie, and that is Roland Emmerich's latest film, and that is Anonymous. Why does it always feel like that Roland Emmerich makes these movies so he can use that as an excuse to go back for his stupid blockbusters? Because, yeah, they take it's an idea that could be interesting, but kind of like some of the other movies we've looked at, that's what is you have to watch the movie to see that, yeah, this really does not live up to the expectations that this could have had. But this is a fictionalized version of the life of Edward de Vere, 17th Earl of Oxford, whose Elizabethan courtier courtier, I think I'm pronouncing that right, playwright, poet, and patron of the arts, and suggests he was the actual author of William Shakespeare's plays. It stars Rhys Ifans, who's been a great character actor in the last decade, over the last decade, and I think that, you know, a chance for him to get the chance to shine as a leading actor here. He is carrying the load here. He is the one thing that really does stand out in this particular film. You also got Vanessa Redgrave, Jolie Richardson, David Thewlis, Edward Hogg, Rafi Spall, Derek Jacobi. A lot of really, really good people in this movie, and the idea is very interesting, kind of like an equivalent to Amadeus in general, except it's about William Shakespeare, but sadly the movie doesn't do that what you think it would. It's one of those movies that tries way too hard to be much deeper than it actually is, and you don't really need to do that. Like, in a movie like this, you got to take the Amadeus method. Like, you could be in depth and as deep as you want to, but don't go past the point where you have to be so pretentious and to try to be more important than you actually are. That's the biggest problem with it, because they take so many liberties with this, and it just falls apart pretty quickly. And as good as Rhys Ifans is trying to carry the load of this film, you could just tell that Roland Emmerich sabotaged this movie on purpose. Like, it didn't feel like his heart was in this movie in general. He uses it as an excuse to say, here, I did a movie. You see why I have to go back and doing these stupid blockbusters? Because sure enough, what's the next thing he does? A stupid blockbuster with White House Down, which we'll get to in 2013. But this film had potential for something good here. I mean, it's always good to see a blockbuster director go do something much smaller than he usually does. But here, like I said, it just felt like he did this on purpose so he would get the studios off his back and say, let me go back to doing a blockbuster again. And it just did not work. It was a mess. It was just not a good movie. Not a good film at all. Anonymous really should have just stayed anonymous, period. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies as we're getting ready to head into the 2011 holiday movie season. And we're starting off with two big movies. Brett Ratner directing Eddie Murphy, Ben Stiller, and an all-star ensemble cast in the heist comedy Tower Heist, which has a little bit of a history because Eddie Murphy was supposed to host the Oscars that year, which was produced by Brett Ratner, but course, Ratner couldn't keep his fucking mouth shut, and I'll delve more into that later on. It's in the review tomorrow. But we also have the third installment of the Harold and Kumar series, a very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, which is definitely much better than Guantanamo Bay. And I've kind of already touched on it in another video, but if you didn't see that, tune in tomorrow to find that out, or just go look for that video. Whatever floats your boat, baby. But what's wrong with me? With all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I don't even know why I ended it like that, but thanks for watching this. If you somehow found enjoyment in this, more power to you. But if you did, please do me the honor of hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button. And also don't forget to check out the playlist, and also check out the last episode we did. So with that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.